Danite Radio.
Welcome to the Counter Revolution.
Unless you want to be in the middle of a conversation, of course.
I kind of like that, dude.
I think that works better too.
It's hard to do it naturally without somebody that's not involved in the conversation.
Yeah, agreed.
But
What up, nerds and virgins?
Oh, hello.
quoting the great Kobe Covington.
Hi, I'm Shadow.
I'm Rocky.
No, I'm Jace.
Welcome back to Danite Radio.
Danite Radio.
Radio from hell. Oh, wait.
Oh, don't you dare, dude. My gosh. So, dude, YouTube is, for some reason, showing me all these HIV ads, you know?
Time to get checked.
Yeah. And like, which is weird enough, but then the commercial says, if you've been diagnosed with HIV, keep being you. Which is a strange thing to tell someone with HIV, right? Like, hey, intravenous drug user who got HIV, keep doing what you're doing.
Keep sharing your needles.
Yeah. Weird, right?
That's interesting.
Hey, serial philanderer, keep doing what you're doing.
Ideally, since you lack morals,
Yeah,
don't tell them.
it's so weird.
Don't tell them.
That's the weirdest thing to say, you know? I don't know. Hey, bar fighter. It's just weird.
It seems like what you're doing is incorrect if you ended up with HIV.
Yeah. And I'm not saying change everything, you know? Keep making people laugh, but maybe change the behavior that...
It led to the reaction.
Yeah.
But maybe that's an unpopular opinion.
Probably is.
No, bro, keep being you.
What you mad about this week, Shadow? Anything funny happen?
No, pretty tame week.
Oh, what about you, Jace?
I got nothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Here, just pass me your ropes. I'll drag this show along, man.
Finally. About time you show up for something.
So, as Shadow knows, we're doing a job in Salina. I better text Cody before this comes out and tell him we're working down the road. And,
Hey, Cody, we're working down the road. I'll handle it.
So, we're just driving because it's only like an hour from my house, but the general contractor, I won't say his name or his company, it lives far away, so he's staying. And so he's staying down there, and we were trying to figure out like what time he gets off of work, what time he goes home, but not home. And I was like, hey, what time do you go to the hotel, bro? And he's like, I brought a trailer. I'm like, okay.
Oh, no,
So
no follow-up to
now
that
that we've established that I'm the kind of jerk that assumes you're the kind of jerk that would stay in a hotel when he's working out of town, what time do you get off work, dude? Like, you can't answer the question. I get it. Fine. Correct me on the trailer thing, but, oh, it's a trailer. I go around 5. You know, that's all I had to say. But no, I had to re-ask the question in the appropriate format to not offend his sensibilities.
Did you use his proper pronouns?
Exactly, dude. Like, dude, wow, bro. Yeah, his proper pronoun is trailer stayer.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
Please don't call me a he. I am trailer stayer. That's my pronoun. Good luck finding that one on Facebook. Tardo.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I just don't understand.
What time does he
about
get
it.
off? Now I'm curious.
5, he says, but I don't think he stays much longer after we leave at 4:30. Probably half an hour.
wow, disbelief, and then you're like, oh wait, hold on, 4:30 is only half an hour before 5. Yeah, I don't get to talk to generals and stuff, so I don't.
I just don't get why we can't be better at not, what is that? Why does it matter where you're staying? Why can't you just infer what I mean?
I think people love to overshare and get offended about it.
Maybe.
He does.
Yeah, he does seem like the offended type too, but
He seems like a nice enough feller. Mm-hmm. That's why I don't talk to him.
So
That's a policy that I have.
yeah, freaking awesome. But I guess we're getting into the other stuff quicker than I thought.
Yeah, I
unless you
think
guys
so. I
a
got
story.
nothing, bro. I'm
Alright.
trying to think what happened to me this week.
I don't think I
Literally
was
nothing.
alive this week.
Weird. Those are all from like 2 weeks ago. So, but I've been receiving a lot of pushback from last week's episode, folks.
Imagine that. We won't name names, but
You know who you be.
I was just gonna name names. We won't name names.
So, most of the pushback is from my side because I didn't get aggressive enough with my cousin about the mask thing.
I've also received pushback for this issue.
Really?
Yeah.
From other people that I'm not talking about? From different people or
I
from
think
the same
generally
people?
the same people.
So, I feel like I got my point across gently. I feel like if masks don't work like I don't think they work, or they're as pointless as I think they are, then they're just a tool to divide the people. Because a people divided against itself will never hold the corrupt government that we have in check. We'll never fight a communist revolution. We'll be too worried about who's making us sick with the coronavirus instead of what's making our country sick with communism. So I don't think that me losing my friendship with my cousin over the masks,
Is helping anything?
that just plays into the hands of, I think I got my point across. I don't think I lost the fight by any means. I'm sure Hogan would disagree, but that's kind of the nature of debating,
And also the nature of agreeing to disagree, which
Sure.
is what
Basically
seemed
what
like
happened.
happened.
Yeah. However, I have failed as a podcaster. There are failures that you can feel free to hold me accountable for. And those are this.
sometimes he just cannot think of what he's trying to say.
That
Oh,
is
sorry.
a bad one.
Sorry, was that not what you were saying?
100%. That's true. Sorry. Da 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 da.
No, the ones I was actually thinking of are.
Anyways, so my cousin who was here is a big fan. I don't think he's our biggest fan, but he's listened to
Shout
most.
out Noah.
He's listened to most of our episodes, maybe all of them, I don't know. And the reason we started this podcast, there's a couple reasons. A, to explain the misunderstandings about freedom. B, to defend God. That should probably be A. And C, to explain the dangers of communism. And I feel like I've shared some harrowing stories from the Gulag Archipelago
Perhaps not enough.
of horrific
So.
horrific stories that come from post-communist revolutions.
As we
And-
mentioned, the Gulag Archipelago is our second most favorite boring book.
And so one of our biggest fans sat right here at this table, looked me in the eyes, and said, I'd vote for a communist before I'd vote for Donald Trump.
The communist being Bernie Sanders.
And, all right, that brings up two things. First of all, you can say Bernie Sanders isn't a communist. You can say he says he's a democratic socialist. But so did Lenin. So did Mao. So did that Venezuelan peach down
Castro.
there. No, that's Cuban.
Castro did as well.
Cuban did as well.
What's his name?
So
Like this. See, this
Not
is one of the ways you do this is a
not a single
Maduro.
Maduro.
Or Chavez.
No, Chavez is the one that was voted in. Maduro would get in the same way Bernie Sanders was. He got voted in the first time. So, ne'er has there been a communist revolution that hasn't started with a democratic socialist.
I think that's how the Kim Jong dynasty began as well.
Okay.
I'm not.
Where's he from?
Korea, North Korea.
Oh,
The North Korean communist takeover.
I thought it was Jong. Sorry, I didn't understand.
Oh yeah, I just don't.
Anyways,
Not great.
that's why I was confused.
My bad.
It doesn't matter. You might be right. Anyways, especially when Bernie Sanders goes to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon and sings the praises of the Soviet Union. He talks about how breadlines are good and at least they have education. At least they're educated people starving on the streets when Fidel Castro took over the education system in Cuba. He has done nothing but sing the praises of communists. All communists start out as democratic socialists.
Or claim to be democratic
He
socialists.
is a communist. And let's say he's the one democratic socialist that gets into power and stays a democratic socialist. Then there's definitely a strongman communist waiting in the wings to shoot him in the back of the head and take his place as the communist dictator. This is the story of communism. And I haven't sufficiently scared my biggest fans away from it because they look me in the eyes and tell me they'll vote for a communist before they... And you people, and I exposed that. I exposed the dangers. Not only did I expose the thought process of the mask wearers, but I exposed their politics and who they would vote for. And you're worried that I didn't push the issue with the mask?
And he did all of that while maintaining his relationship with his cousin.
Yeah, exactly.
Shout out to Hogan. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah,
We really
he was
enjoyed
a
having
great
you.
guest.
You're welcome back.
Yeah, and I'm sorry that I failed to explain to you the dangers of communism. But here's my problem with the mask issue. Why people get so heated about the mask issue, and this is gonna. You're not gonna follow my logic. You're gonna come up with a reason why this isn't true, but it is true. You'll come up with a reason in your head. You won't be able to put it into words because it won't make any sense. But people are scared of the coronavirus. They were told by their government that the coronavirus can kill you. It will kill your grandma, and guess what? It's killing young people too. They don't tell the full story about the young people having underlying issues. They just think that healthy young people are being killed by this. And maybe one has. I don't know. But this is true. People are scared of the coronavirus. And so people want to be protected. And people, for years in this country now, have been protected by the government. What else would you say that the government protects people from that we've discussed on this show?
Car accidents. They try to prevent them.
True. Let's think of another one though. One that is a little less blatant, like has less consequence. A lot of people die in cars.
You're fishing for an answer that I don't have.
Drugs.
Oh,
That's an easy one.
Really? A
Yeah.
lot of people don't die from drugs?
Not as many as die in cars. Not
don't
near
think
as
so?
many. Let's look it up. But I bet it's
curious.
not close. Anyways, the government's been protecting people from drugs for years. If you set that precedent with the laws that you pass, with the laws that you vote for, with the people that you vote for, and the laws that you support, hey, the government should protect us from this, then people are going to look for the government to protect them from everything. The more...
Wait, you mean that this pattern of democratic socialists becoming communists applies to more things than just communism?
No, I mean...
So, for
no,
example...
no. I'm not even talking about socialism or communism.
No, hear me out. Hear me
Okay.
out. For example, if you give the government an inch, they'll take the whole mile.
Every
and
time.
then we'll anticipate
Every time there's a...
needing protection from all things dangerous.
There's a
We'll
French
give the
philosopher's quote on that the government will always push for more power.
Sure.
The French philosopher on National Treasure. Have you seen National Treasure?
Not in a long time.
Dude, it's a good show. What'd you find out, Jace? Nothing?
Okay, so just the first numbers I found was 38,000 people die every year in car crashes, and about 67,000 people die every year from drug-related overdoses.
Really?
Yeah.
Holy
almost
cow.
double.
Way off base.
You should have stuck with car crashes.
Yeah, I guess so. Either way, it doesn't matter. 67,000, right? How
Yeah.
many have died from COVID? 137,000, right? That's national, right?
Also, potentially, drug overdoses would be lower if people weren't afraid to seek help when somebody was overdosing. because
150,000
they weren't afraid
deaths from COVID
So-
in the United States.
reprisal.
So more than twice as many deaths
Sure.
from COVID in the United States. And I get it. They're skewing the numbers. But I wouldn't be surprised at all if they're skewing the numbers on drugs. That's just the way it goes.
It's another issue that's
Yep.
being pushed.
So if you don't trust the government's numbers on COVID, you should have a hard time trusting the government's numbers on drug deaths. But what's the real number? Are they more than doubling the number of COVID deaths? I don't know. Could be, but even if they are, there have been more COVID deaths than drug deaths in a year. So you have this huge problem with people wearing these masks, and yet so you're such a wolf on this mask issue, but then you turn around and keep these drugs from us. We can't educate our kids ourselves. We can't not do drugs if they're legal. How many people die from alcohol every year? Just as bad of a drug. If you talk to a cop, hey man, would you rather fight a guy on LSD or alcohol? They'll tell you alcohol every time.
90,000.
90,000.
just
Look at
under
that.
90.
Look at that.
Wait, they'll tell you alcohol or they'll
Alcohol-related deaths.
Alcohol-related deaths.
No, I'm talking about if you ask
Yeah.
a cop, they'll tell you alcohol.
They'll tell
or
you
LSD.
they'd rather fight a guy on LSD than alcohol.
Oh, okay. You said that backwards.
Sorry.
First time. That's
Sorry.
why I double checked.
So
So I've got a question.
hold on. So
Okay.
what is
Don't want
at what? Don't want to get me stuttering.
to.
So at what point do you take responsibility for people wearing these masks around? The world is a scary, scary place, and people lean toward. There's a reason that people naturally go toward monarchical governments because they want to be protected. So how can you possibly blame a guy like Hogan for wanting to wear a mask when
And
you
wanting to
are,
vote for a Democratic socialist.
when you are in support of illegalization of drugs, which doesn't work, the drug war has failed, and you are for arbitrary speed limits and taxation by infraction. I support the blue. Fine. You should support the blue when they're doing their job and solving crime and maybe saving a kid or two. But you support the blue or the brown in the case of the Utah Highway Patrol when they're arresting people for having a little bit of marijuana or speed or doing 10 miles over the speed limit. They're writing tickets. Are you kidding me? You are just as much in it for the protection as anyone who wants to wear a mask. Okay? So what I'm trying to do is gently explain to Hogan why I don't think we need the government to protect us from COVID, and at the same time trying to explain to you why I don't think we need the government to protect us from drugs. In my mind, you're both on the same freaking side. So don't come at me when I'm not a jerk to someone that I really like because I don't want to lose him as a friend when he does the same thing you're doing. The exact same thing. The only difference is he's got twice the numbers of deaths to worry about than you do on your call for protection from the government. Are you in it for freedom or not? Do you want freedom or not? Because guess what? Freedom is scary and it's hard work. Freedom equals responsibility. Freedom equals having to teach your own kids to not do drugs, to understand what freedom actually is. And guess what? Taking the right of someone to smoke a little marijuana, not freedom. Not freedom. 100%. And guess what else? Taking the right of someone to shoot up heroin in their own home, not freedom. Not freedom. If you are trying to protect somebody from themselves, you are running against the grain of freedom. 100%. You either trust the people to make good decisions for themselves or you don't. Just because they're making decisions you don't agree with, that's not freedom, sir. That is not freedom. Sorry, Shadow. Please ask your question. Did you forget it?
No, I didn't. So, what about if the church has asked us to wear masks or asked us to vote no on Proposition 2, to not let Proposition 2 pass? What about when the church does that? Isn't it our responsibility to follow God?
Let me tell you a story, sir.
Please.
I know a guy who is in the state.
All the best stories start there. I know a guy.
He's a state representative. I won't say his name. I won't say where he's from. But he's dope. He's a good representative. And we should vote for him. So I guess I'll use his name. I'll use his name at a later date. But as of right now, I think this one should be a bit more anonymous. So he told me the church has a lobby.
Sure.
The last thing he told me the church lobbied against was the constitutional carry law.
Sure.
That passed in the House and was vetoed by Governor
Gary Herbert.
Gary Herbert. So, and he said, where's this coming from? And they always, anytime they get asked that question, the church lobbyists, they always say, from the top. From the top. However, I doubt it, and so does he. There is a bureaucracy in the church that I think thinks they wield the power of the prophet just because they happen to have some paperwork that has the letterhead on it. I've never heard a prophet come over the pulpit and say we shouldn't ease restrictions on guns. I've only heard bureaucrats say, yeah, we shouldn't ease restrictions on guns. We should keep the gun control in place in this state. So there's a lot of things that go on in the bureaucracy of the church that I don't agree with, and I have to separate the two because the church isn't there to inform my politics. The church is there to inform my morality and my relationship with God. And even my relationship with God is somewhat separate from the church, but not entirely.
The church can help you,
yes,
help guide you to improve
and help me grow closer. But
your relationship
but there is a
with God
relationship with God that is separate from the church, which I think everyone should have. In case, God forbid, the church goes apostate and you have to leave it. They say it's not a possibility. Fine, not a possibility. But God wants you in a position where you'll trust Him to give you the appropriate revelation to leave the church.
Surely.
I don't think it'll ever happen. I don't think that'll be the case. But so
But the principle and the idea is still there.
Yeah,
That you're
sure.
thinking for yourself
100%.
and receiving revelation for yourself.
And the drug issue is this. Yes, we have a word of wisdom. And there are prophets who have come down against narcotics and even caffeine, stimulants, and alcohol and cigarettes, for that matter.
Well, and the end of Prohibition, the prophet went so far as to encourage members over the pulpit to vote
Against the end of
to
Prohibition.
maintain Prohibition, and Utah was the state that ended up ratifying Prohibition. They were the final piece to fall for Prohibition to end.
I
Sorry.
struggle. No, that's all right. I struggle with. It'd be interesting to see what those talks would have looked like had drugs been legal. And again, just because your church frowns upon these things doesn't mean that you have to, or doesn't mean it has to be illegal. In fact, it looks better for you if these things are legal and you don't imbibe. You're going to get to heaven. You're like, I never did drugs in my life. God's like, oh, good job. You avoided all these earthly consequences.
You avoided going to jail. And
You get to heaven and alcohol's legal. You say, I never drank in my life. And God says, oh, good. Because you had some friends that were doing it. It looked real fun. Well done. Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Maybe it goes back to that post that Hogan posted. A slothful servant has to be told what not to do. Right?
maybe.
We have to be constantly reminded with fines what we should and shouldn't do in this country.
Sure.
Right? So, stop telling me that I'm not coming down hard enough on people who don't appreciate your kind of freedom, because you don't appreciate my kind of freedom. And that goes for everyone that came to me about masks, about not coming down hard enough on Hogan. Yeah, guess what? He did a snarky post on Instagram. Hogan, that was a snarky post, sir. But guess what, folks?
Why does it sound like you're reprimanding like a 4-year-old? You're like, that was snarky.
Listen. But guess what, folks? The podcast episode before he made that post, I was snarky about people wearing masks. I called them all sheep. The snark goes both ways. You like the snark when I'm coming down on people against masks. You don't like the snark when it's against you. That's life. People are snarky. It doesn't win people to your cause, obviously. Didn't work for me. I didn't win anyone over. And it didn't work for Hogan. He didn't win anyone over. But it's fun sometimes, you know? You get to act like you're better than everybody. I don't know. That's like my favorite thing to do.
Honestly, I felt like we had a great discussion.
I agree. I feel like we
learned
both
perspective.
got things out. We learned a lot from Jace's computer. I don't think it was a bad conversation. My mommy really liked it. So,
And I don't think the mask is that should be a hot button issue.
It's not that divisive.
It should
I don't
not
get
be
it
as
either.
divisive as it is.
and it is. Go ahead.
It is debilitatingly divisive. It
yeah.
is
Brutal.
stop people in the streets and scream at one another divisive because it matters to people for some reason. It shouldn't. It shouldn't matter from either side. We should just be accepting that some people are going to make their decision and some people are not. Some people are comfortable in a mask. Some people are uncomfortable in a mask. And that's what it boils down. That's the argument both ways, because from the research that we did, it was pretty unclear if it actually helps or not.
And
Correct me if I'm wrong, but from the research that I saw last week, it's pretty unclear if it helps or not.
There's definitely not 100% for sure.
There's not a conclusion either way. So if you're comfortable wearing a mask, wear a mask. If you're uncomfortable wearing a mask, don't wear a mask. But shut up about it because it doesn't matter.
I had someone on the Facebook indoor yard sale make a post saying, so how do I get masks if I can't go into Walmart without a mask? And I just replied, Payson Market isn't making people wear masks, so you could just go there. And everyone's like, oh, that's good to know. But some people were like, just wear a mask. I can't believe you just won't wear a mask. Just put your mask on. And so I put, nah, bro, I'm not a sissy. To which the guy said, you are too, one. You're scared of little minor inconvenience when you could save lives. And I'm like, no, there's no evidence in my eyes that it can, or there's no proof in my eyes that they save lives, A. And B, you're the one that's so worried about what I'm doing. You can wear a mask if you want, but I won't wear a mask. So shut up, you do-gooder sissy, Mind your own business. And then I had one lady, what about my special needs grandson? What if he gets sick and dies? That won't be good. How would you feel then? I'm like, keep your special needs grandson home like you would in a bad flu season. No answer.
Also, the lady's Facebook comment sounded just like
Yes,
Rocky's
it did.
voice did.
It did. It's a
At least that's how
divisive
you
issue.
read it.
It's a divisive issue. It gets brutal. It gets brutal out there. And I'm just as rude back as they are to me. But I don't come at them. All I did was give that chick advice. Hey, just go to Payson Market. They're better anyways,
And I like that was a chick coming and saying, look, I'm trying to be as compliant as possible. Where can I go about getting one? Mm-hmm. And you comment that, and suddenly both of you are getting attacked. Mm-hmm. Just wear a mask. You need one. Mm-hmm. And she doesn't deserve that. It's a chick, yeah. She was trying to.
Yeah, it was a.
She was simply trying to be compliant and in the best way that she's capable.
I also suggested just tell them you have asthma because they can't force you to wear a mask.
I read online this past week that Walmart won't enforce the mask thing. You can still go in with that one.
Good.
I think people that aren't going to wear a mask should just go with the classic, oh, I don't want to.
Yeah, sure. Or support places that aren't going to force you to do it. Go
And-
to Payson Market. I will go to Payson Market for the rest of my time in Payson because they didn't force me to wear a mask this time. Unless they change that policy. Payson Market's my new grocery store. They're slightly more expensive, but what's the price you'll pay for freedom?
Support your local business anyways.
They're owned by the same people that own Macy's now. They're not.
Still better than Walmart.
There's not a local
Owned
store
by,
in Payson. Is it Associated Foods? I don't know.
Associated Foods.
Which is basically just Kroger.
Yeah.
The same size as Kroger is all, but
Utah's version of Kroger.
no, Utah's version of Kroger is Smith's because they're owned by Kroger. Come on, man.
No,
like
I
you don't
meant,
even know.
'cause I think
Is this
Associated
your
Foods
first time here?
is a Utah-based company, was what I was trying to say.
Is it? Let's Google
I'm
that.
fairly certain. I think the first Macy's was in Logan.
Well, breaking down the important issues, folks.
We digress.
Associated Foods is based out of Salt Lake.
Wow.
1,400 employees.
Wow.
Dude, I know stuff, bro.
You do know stuff. So, there you have it, folks. Look, I assure you, the frustration you feel about masks is the exact same as the frustration I feel about drugs and guns. In fact, I feel so much about drugs and guns that the masks just seem petty to me. Because there are more important issues, there are underlying issues, there are other things that the government protects us from that they shouldn't protect us from, that you support, that causes people to feel like they need the government to protect them from people who won't wear masks.
Hey, if anybody out there has seen the movie Tombstone, that's basically Rocky's vision of an ideal government.
Ideal. For sure. For sure. A gang of roaming cowboys pops up, and one lawman and his murderer buddy pop up to stop him. Perfect. Works for me.
It's a beautiful thing. It's
It is a beautiful thing. And how much time we got, bro?
We're at 30 minutes.
30 minutes. Whoa. We're going all day. So let's talk about one more thing. Here's my idea of freedom. Okay?
Hey, you people came here. You get to deal with our opinions.
Please don't leave.
Marriage.
Please don't leave. Please.
Marriage
Brings us together. Sorry.
is a religious right. RITE, religious right.
religious ordinance.
Sure.
Ceremony.
We can go ordinance. We can go rite. We can go sacrament. No, we can't go sacrament.
No, we can't.
Whoa,
But
dude.
they're all appropriate.
Whoa,
I'm waiting for you to
seen the look he
continue.
gave me.
Dude, people were hanging on to your every word, and now they're leaving, dude. And I'm sure this is going to be important. I was riveted, and now I don't care.
So, the only reason that the government has anything to do with your marriage is because of the overly complex tax code that we have in this country. That's the only reason the government's involved in your marriage. And you could say, well, the end-of-life rights, it should be taken care of by the spouse. Okay, I can sign power of attorney over to a stranger, and they can decide whether I live or die. And sometimes there have been times when the actual spouse gets cut out by the family anyways when it comes to end-of-life decisions. It's not a perfect system. And the government doesn't seem to help in any way.
You mean a government tax system isn't perfect?
Yeah, and they say stuff like, well, what about life insurance? You can put anyone you want on your life insurance too. Anyways, my point being, the government has nothing to do with religious rights. The government should stay out of it. And if your church wants to marry gay people, that's your church's decision. And if your church doesn't want to marry gay people, that's your church's decision. This is what freedom looks like, folks. We act like we're so free in this country, and we have so much freedom when we don't. We don't have that much freedom. Our churches can't make decisions for religious rights. We can't make personal decisions for our own health. We can't decide how fast we drive on the freeway. We can't even decide which lane we ride in. We have to abide by certain rules for the lanes.
We can get to that maybe in a minute. I think I know how to fix your problem with the HOV lane.
What's that?
So I was driving in Salt Lake, and they had posted over the toll sign on the HOV lane, and it said, free for all.
Mm-hmm.
You need to somehow find a way to get the HOV lane, the concept of the restrictions on the HOV lane, abolished. So, somebody needs to commit a hate crime in relation to the HOV.
Genius.
If we
And
could
then it
get-
will truly be free for all. We'll
Hello,
abolish
Utah
it.
Highway Patrol. If you could shoot a black man in the HOV
For
lane,
violating HOV
I would
lane
greatly appreciate
laws.
it. Just kidding. I don't want anyone to get shot. My gosh, calm down, folks.
It's a bit of satire.
So-
it's a little bit of satire.
You're right. You're right. We need to do away with the HOV line. It's retarded. It's one more way that we're sheep. Ba 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 ba. Let's be wolves, folks.
Black sheep.
Take care of our own freedom. And you know what? I don't like wolves either because they just follow the pack. Let's be tigers, folks. The dopest animal that ever lived. And guess what? The Tiger King didn't change my mind on that. I just think tiger people are crazy now. Which I guess I'm crazy. But I'd never want to pet one because I don't want to get eaten.
Bro, Mike Tyson has a pet tiger.
He had two.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, you're right. Tiger people aren't crazy.
Talking about the 54-year-old man who just signed up to fight another 50-year-old man.
Dude, it's going to be dope, bro.
He'll
I
win.
can't wait.
Tyson got it.
You think?
Oh, yeah.
Roy Jones is the dope fighter,
Roy Jones
dude.
Jr. lost his chin, though. Tyson never went out because of his chin.
Have you seen videos of him training?
He's
I'm
fast.
actually kind of scared to fight him, dude.
Yeah, but Roy Jones is like one of the
Roy Jones-
fastest that ever lived.
Yeah, but he stopped boxing because he lost his chin. He
Mm-hmm.
lost like his last 7 bouts by knockout.
Yikes. Why would
So-
you agree to fight Mike Tyson if you lost your chin?
How much money he's gonna make?
Oh, both going to make you
has
run
nothing to
all
do with the
money,
fight.
dude.
100% the money.
Yeah, but what if he makes you retarded or something, dude? Have you seen that guy punch?
Do you know how many
It's
times he's
terrifying.
been knocked out? He's not thinking about that. He's thinking about money.
Okay. All right. Well,
He's probably thinking, this won't be the one that
this is
this
where
won't be the one that pushes me
this
over
is
the
where
edge.
my dad says you go to Fall Contact Karate once a week for nothing. You pay to go. So, all right, you're right.
Gotcha.
Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks for showing me
Gotcha.
what an idiot I am. So, I'm sure you disagree with me. You can't explain exactly why. There's no logical reason why you disagree with me. Because drugs are dangerous and they kill people. And I explained to you that COVID kills more people. So, you're either for freedom or you're not. And as far as I'm concerned, you're not. None of you are for freedom. None of you. That's why I started this podcast, was to demonstrate that, look, this is what freedom looks like.
It is a beautiful but terrifying mistress.
We've swung to the European model, which is fascists on the right, communists on the left. Let's try and be somewhere in the middle. But the American model started out, the way the founders set it forth is there was
Totalitarianism on the left, correct?
No. So I actually think that the left was anarchy
Okay.
and the right was not necessarily totalitarianism, but monarchy, where a king decides what this government is. But it could be right or left. I don't know. Either way. And then somewhere in the middle is the ideal spot. Folks, we're way past the center. We're not even close. The Constitution is supposed to keep us in the center of that. Where in the Constitution does it say, let's make drugs illegal? Let's protect people from themselves. Nope. The Second Amendment was written because we're supposed to protect ourselves. Natural law states that we have the right to self-defense, and self-defense doesn't only come through violence. Self-defense comes through educating ourselves, through doing our own research, through having decisions placed in front of us and us making our own decisions. Go ahead, Shadow. Sorry.
Where in the Constitution does it dictate how legal marriage is to be performed and enacted?
Mm-hmm.
That legal marriage, which it was a religious right.
Yeah. And I've told this story before on the podcast, but I'm going to tell it again. I think this story should be told often. Once upon a time in the USSR, the Soviet Union, there was a gulag in Siberia. There was a famous writer from the Soviet Union who went to audit this gulag. This gulag spent weeks cleaning the gulag, feeding the prisoners, trying to get them plumped up a little bit, and being extra nice so that the prisoners would be
Well behaved.
docile for this auditor. Because the reason the auditor was there was because a Western journalist visited one and wrote a scathing review of what these gulags looked like. So the Soviet Union hired their own writer to do their own audit. Can't imagine how that would go. Anyways,
I have some
and
idea.
and I'm gonna add some things of my own imagination, but I think they're probably true. I would imagine that the prisoners of this gulag were all talking about how they were going to tell this auditor what was what. They were going to explain to this auditor how bad this prison was. They were going to explain to this auditor all the atrocities that this prison had committed. For example, stripping prisoners down and using them as horses to pull wagons. Or when a prisoner misbehaved in the right way, taking off his clothes and sending him out into the Siberian wilderness. In the summer to die of exposure and mosquito bites, or in the winter to freeze to death. Or a number of any other atrocities that this gulag was committing. I'm sure they were all big talk about how they were going to come and tell this auditor what was what. I'm sure they knew something was coming down the second they started getting more food and the prison started getting cleaned up. Well, the auditor gets there, the day of truth comes, and he starts talking to prisoners, and everyone just talks about how it's just fine. because they're scared. Understandably, they're scared. But one 11-year-old boy who was in the youth portion of the gulag, which oftentimes they put youth and adults together, and oftentimes they put women and men together. Most of the time, the women and men were together. So, one 11-year-old boy who was probably in gulag because his parents did something stupid. He probably didn't do anything wrong. They probably came to get his parents. He probably defended his dad, and they named him a socially dangerous element and put him in this gulag. This is the injustice that was going on in the Soviet Union. And this boy...
And this is the injustice that Bernie Sanders is glorifying.
Yeah, communism inevitably brings. So, this boy comes forward to the auditor. Maybe he saw his dad speak out against the government. Followed his dad's example. My dad wouldn't let this stand. My dad I'm in gulag because my dad spoke against the government. So
my dad got shot for this.
Yeah. So he goes to the auditor. I'll tell you what's really going on here. And the auditor pulls him into another room, and he tells him all the atrocities that are going on. And the writer steps out of the room, a tear in his eye, and the boy is taken away. And I think the auditor stayed about 2 weeks. And as he's pulling out in his boat, he took a boat to get there. As his boat is leaving, the boy's taken out behind the prison, shot in the back of the head. The writer gets back to Moscow and writes a stellar review of how great that gulag runs. What a beautiful place it would be to go there. How
well taken care of the prisoners
yes,
there are.
How it would be a pleasure to be in prison there, I believe is what he said. Such is human nature, folks. That 11-year-old boy died for nothing. And fortunately for me, I believe that he got to heaven. Jesus fist bumped him and said, "Good job, bro. You're amazing." That was so much courage for an 11-year-old boy to show. And this coward let him sacrifice it for nothing. He knew that boy would die for what he did. Imagine being that boy. A cold-hearted prison guard takes you out behind the shed. You recognize the weight of the mistake that you made. You're about to die. After how long in a gulag? Starving to death. You're hard because you're in with adults who beat you up and take your stuff. Because they put thieves in with political prisoners because the thieves are meant to control the political prisoners. This is the dichotomy of human nature. Courage is to be found rarely, and cowardice is to be found everywhere. Everyone in that gulag talked big, probably, but didn't do anything about it. And then this one boy shows his courage, gets murdered for it by the state, and this coward doesn't
say a word.
Say a word. Goes along to get along. Sure, he was probably protecting his family. But this is what trusting governments gets you. It doesn't matter which side you're on. The fascists did it on the right if we're following the European model, and the communists did it on the left. Let's follow the American model. Let's all be leftists in the American model, where we are leaning towards anarchy as much as we can, which can bring its own atrocities. I get it. But I'd rather deal with too much freedom. You know? There's no government that's going to come kill my family in anarchy. The only thing that's going to come kill my family is roving gangs of criminals. And I don't have a problem fighting back against roaming gangs of criminals. It's when you're a bootlicker and you decide, hey, I better go along to get along because these guys are the government. They know what they're doing. That's where the cowardice comes in. We have to fear the state. I'd rather fear criminals. I'd rather fear too many criminals. I'd rather fear bad guys who don't have the sheen of the government, who don't have the I'm a good man. And I'm not saying cops are this. I'm just saying they have the potential. Police forces have the potential to become this. Everyone just follows orders. I don't think that writer was a bad man, but he was a coward and a liar, which is what most people are. So do we trust people who organize and become the government, become the almighty power in our lives? Or do we trust that people aren't that great, but we're responsible for our own destiny? I think that story should be told everywhere. That 11-year-old boy deserves praise. I'm so grateful to Alexander Solzhenitsyn for putting it in the Gulag Archipelago so I could read that boy's courage, because that's the side I want to come down on. Do you want to be the writer, or do you want to be the 11-year-old boy that gets shot in the head?
Or do you want to be one of the countless sheep in the middle?
Yeah, or one of the prisoners who didn't say a word, who probably were heartbroken over the loss of the boy.
Heartbroken enough to never speak of it again.
Yeah. Except for Solzhenitsyn, who memorized that story and shared it with me. Read that book. Look at the evils of communism so that you never want to vote for Bernie Sanders. That's a call out specifically to you, Hogan. The least you could do is read that book, bro. I get it. Trump's a hard man to vote for, but I want you to look at this as well. Yes, Trump cheated on his wife. But the greatest king in Israel, King David, cheated on his many wives with a married woman and then had her husband murdered. We can't always look at people's personal morality when it comes to presidential worthiness. We can only look at their policies. I'm sure you being a Democrat, you disagree with his policies. But he's had by far the most freedom-loving policies I've seen in a president in my lifetime.
He's had plenty of Democratic policies, too.
Oh,
We're
my
getting
gosh.
Stimulus check round 2 here
For
soon.
sure. And state
Oh, you ought to
subsidized
be stoked on that. Getting another
state-
stimulus check.
state subsidized childcare, bro. No way, dude. After Kanye's plan, every parent gets $1 million. Trump ain't got nothing, dude.
I'm about to have a kid.
I'd be a 6 millionaire, bro.
That's like one more than 5.
Look, man.
Jeez.
That's a ridiculous policy for Kanye to come up with, but at least he's thinking about abortion, and he recognizes that it is a black genocide. You the man, Kanye. Thank you for bringing that to light. Thank you for putting that out in the public forum. Still don't got my vote,
And you're a crazy person.
but I'll listen to your songs for sure.
I'll make you a billionaire. I'm all about it.
Drug dealing just to get by. Count your money till you get sky high. What would he have to rap about if we legalized drugs? Change my view on drugs.
That easy.
Wow. Wow.
Let's keep them illegal.
I hope you guys listened this long because we got all serious there and then took a left turn when Rocky changed his entire political ideology in the face of Kanye's music.
So, I love you guys. I love you, Hogan. I'm sorry I failed you all as a podcaster and not explain the dangers of communism enough to you. But,
I didn't fail anything. I'm
Yeah.
great at podcasts.
it's true. You're both great podcasters. So,
But
also, I'm hoping this week we'll have the Teespring up. I've been working on other projects, but
yeah,
we'll be selling some dope shirts.
get
soon
your
enough.
Danite Radio merch, baby.
Mm-hmm. Let's strive to be more like the 11-year-old kid, folks. Let's have courage for our convictions and stand for what's right. I don't.
In the face of any obstacle.
And read his story. Go read his story. That book is important. It's this day and age almost important as the Book of Mormon. So read it. Don't be a fool. Read that book.
The Book of Mormon will teach dangers of a totalitarian government
Also, for sure.
just as
I
much.
and I was looking at it. I heard somewhere that the new vaccine will have fetus parts in it. Is that true? I heard that from my mommy. Is that true?
No.
No. Let's say it is, though.
Okay.
How does that make us any different than the Nephites who were sacrificing their women and children and eating their flesh in the end? Is that not what they were doing?
They were doing that.
Something to think about, folks.
And at
Let's
any
hear it, Jason.
stretch, fetus parts, stem cells, I think is where that would come from.
Does
That
it have stem
idea.
cells in it?
From what I've heard, no.
It's like
So-
super fast, though, for a vaccine, right? Like, it takes like 15 years usually for a vaccine.
Most of
to
the
come
time
to
it takes forever
market.
because the FDA doesn't approve it. And you have to have so much testing to prove that it's working. So they just expedited the process, put that at the front of the line, in front of everything else. That's why it's going so much quicker.
Also, I've heard that this vaccine was a modified version of an already existing vaccine.
And
That's
they've
my
been,
understanding.
so for years, they've been trying to build coronavirus vaccines, which is just like the common cold. So they already had a good base to jump off of.
Yeah.
It's, to put it simply, shouldn't be any suspicion just because of how quickly they've come up with it. There's plenty of things that have helped them, plus all the money and all the motivation to do it.
Boy, you guys just made Mr. Schrader super pissed again.
Sorry, bud. Worry about something else.
all right.
That's not it.
The speed is not the problem.
I still won't.
It
get
is still a vaccine, so
I'll get it.
You will?
Oh,
you
yeah.
get the flu vaccine every year?
Yep.
he has to. He's required to.
I would if I didn't have to.
Yeah.
I'm not
So
about it. I'm
so
not
you-
trying to be autistic.
That's your choice.
Now he's pissed.
Nah, I'm good, dude.
I was talking about Schrader.
Autism's worse than death, so I understand why you wouldn't want to get
Whoa.
a flu shot. Right? That's the logic. Oh wait, it doesn't cause autism.
Jace
so,
with those
so death,
hitters, bro.
death
Jace with his
is worse than
eugenics.
a shot. Whatever.
Jace with his All right, we're out of here. I gotta go to
All right.
church. You
Okay,
got
folks.
anything else to say?
Nope. Thanks for listening. Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. Thanks and have a great week. God bless.
God bless.
See ya.